All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order here. We're gonna welcome to the final public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and final budget for the city of Ocoee. All right, invocation, and then we'll have the pledge of allegiance. All right, stand please. Heavenly Father, we ask you to watch over us this evening as we finish up our budget for the year and help guide us to where we have to be in the city of Ocoee and move in the right direction. We ask you to watch over all our first responders and keep an eye on the COVID and make sure we're all doing what we're supposed to do and be safe for our friends and families. In God's name we ask, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Brunson,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
here.
Commissioner Firstner,
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Going to the public hearing number. This is an advertised public hearing to adopt a final millage rate and finalize the budget for the city of Ocoee for the fiscal year 2021-2022, commencing October the 1st, 2021, and ending September the 30th, 2022. The City Commission has previously approved a tentative millage rate of 5.05 mils, which represents a 1.25% increase in millage over the rollback rate of 4.9879 mils. The advertised tentative millage rate of 5.15 mils is the maximum millage rate which may be adopted by the City Commission at this final budget public hearing tonight. I now ask the Director of Finance to make a brief presentation.
There were no changes made to the budget subsequent to the first budget hearing. The total budget for the city of Ocoee is $121,480,347. Excuse me, $121,480,347. The general fund budget is $78,712,989 and is balanced at 5.0500 mils, which is 0.10 mils lower than the tentative millage rate of 5.15 initially approved by the commission, or $342,755. The difference between 5.05 mils and the rollback rate is 0.0621 mils, $212,851, or 1.25%. Ad valorem taxes are used to finance city operations, including providing quality city services, maintaining city infrastructure through capital projects, and funding salaries for city employees as required to provide services.
Done. I will now open this meeting for any members of the general public to speak or ask questions. All right. Seeing no further members of the public wishing to speak, I now close this public speaking portion of the meeting and call upon the City Commission for any general comments, questions, or discussion. All right, guys, it's open for general comments or questions or discussion.
I have a question. This kind of regards, not kind of, it's regarding also my discretionary funds that I have left over for this fiscal year that we're currently in. And I was hoping that I could give $3,000 over to the Ocoee Youth Council in hopes of kind of using that money in this fiscal year, knowing that next fiscal year we would start anew. But what I'm understanding is that that's a challenge because the Ocoee Youth Council's money does not roll over to next fiscal year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so I guess the remedy that, or the option would be asking the commission if they could use that, or if they could roll over any monies that they have into the next fiscal year. Is that proper, Finance Director?
If commission approves, we can roll an operating fund forward into the next year, but that has to be approved by commission.
Okay. So that is my ask, is that the Ocoee Youth Council, in hopes of giving them monies from this year, out of my discretionary fund, their funding or their budget be rolled over, or the remaining of their budget for this year be rolled over.
I have a question regarding that. It has been my understanding that if it doesn't roll over, they lose it, correct?
That is correct.
So when you, and this is a question I would have, is that if you're giving them $3,000, when their budget doesn't roll over, then that money goes away also. Because if you do that, then every board that didn't spend their money is gonna ask for that rollover of, like, I'll just use the Park and Recreation Board, I know it was only $400, but they can't roll that over because they have now, hadn't been spent. So what you're, I think that, this is just a personal thing, that by doing that, every advisory board has lost money, possibly every year. So now we're setting a precedence that if you don't use it, we're always gonna roll it over. That's a concern I have when it's been never done. So, you know, I know that there's money left over in my discretionary fund, possibly, maybe. But if it's, but when September 30th rolls around, I've lost anything that was in that discretionary fund.
Correct.
So that is my problem, is that once you open it up, you now have opened it up to all of us asking for our discretionary fund to be carried over, our advisory boards that we're liaisons to be carried over. I'm not comfortable opening up a can of worms.
And that was part of my challenge when I thought about it, was just what you said, but I have to make the ask.
Well, we put money in their account, right?
Correct. We
How much?
10,000.
Then we redid that to a certain thing. I need a copy of that. Rob, we redid that under that system under the youth council. So we need to get how that's, I don't know, it was in our agenda packet or something, what we did back with that,
Is that the $10,000 you're talking about that we're using to hire the coordinator, or?
I would have to double check if the
Yeah, there was,
coordinator
I
is
think what we
coming out
had
of that.
maybe 2 years ago, which we duplicated last year, there was $10,000 which was used to pay for the youth council coordinator, and then there was $10,000 for other youth-oriented programs.
I like having youth council, but one of the problems is that they've only had 2 members in most of the year, and they haven't even had meetings. So even paying a coordinator to do it, not having meetings, you know, and somehow or another, there's something about what we did in our, I don't have we redid it. You remember what it was?
Yeah, we moved it from an official city advisory board to, what did we call that?
Program.
City program, so that they don't have to comply with the meeting requirements.
But does that still have the person making that money every month?
I think all we did, I don't think we changed the budget or
I
the other makeup of it.
I just think we got to check it and make sure we research and make sure, because I think it's great to have them, because a lot of cities have them, but they're under a different operation than what we're doing. And we're paying $900 a month for somebody to have one meeting every now and then for an hour or something, so.
Well, I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with you there.
Well, let me
because,
finish.
all right, okay,
Let me
go ahead,
finish.
finish.
I know you're going to disagree because that's your thing, but
Absolutely.
let me finish.
I'm definitely going to dispute that.
remember what you
because-
said. Let me
Because your
finish.
facts, your
Commissioner,
so-called facts are wrong.
Let me finish.
You go ahead and finish, because you're
Okay,
wrong.
let me finish. No, I'm just saying, there's no sense in paying somebody we don't have meetings for, you know? If we don't have but 2 members, you know, we're paying somebody money out of the citizens' money. That's all I'm saying. I like to have a youth council. I just like to see them do what, I called them for a program one time, none of them wanted to volunteer to go to it. So, I'm just saying, if we're gonna do that, let's make it work. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
I voted to
well,
give the money in there.
Okay, well, first and foremost, there are more than 2 members in the youth council. And last year.
Who was it, Commissioner?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I can give you a roll call of every member that was in our youth council. Matter of fact, we gave out 4 scholarships. So how can we give out 4 scholarships when there was only 2 members? So your so-called facts are wrong.
Well,
So
that's the city clerk.
This
That's
year,
the city clerk.
I'm sorry, I'm not finished.
Okay.
This year, we actually have a waiting list of members on that
Well,
youth
that's
council
good.
right now.
good.
For the efforts that
the coordinator has put forth by meeting with the high school principals, going to all 3 high schools within with students that live in the city of Ocoee. So therefore, there's the fruits of the labor right there. We have different activities planned. We have at least 3 students enrolled in dual enrollment right now with Valencia College. We work with them to do different things. We actually have adopted so many different programs with Ocoee High School for the kids to do different activities where they're actually considering creating a space for those kids that's doing the dual enrollment in the youth council. So we use the youth council as a model for those kids to join the dual enrollment program with Valencia that we've actually partner with them as well. So we have so many different things that we are doing this year by way of Florida League of Cities. We're looking at National League of Cities. We have different activities that deal with civics that's going on right now. So there is a whole program that's put in place that we're using in conjunction with other cities. So we've actually went out and did the research. We partnered with other cities to see what they're doing. So to say that there's only 2 members, is, that information that you got is wrong.
No, sir. All right, you're through. All right, I want the city clerk to get me a copy of the records for the last year. Just give me a copy of the records for the last year, of how many meetings they had. If you want to go to that, we'll go to that. And let's
We can
double
do
check
that
the record.
with the exception I'm not finished with the exception of the
You
summer.
did finish, you stopped.
I'm responding to
stopped.
what you said.
So I'm gonna finish
With the
up.
exception of the
I'm
summer,
gonna finish up.
the kids actually have summer
No.
breaks, so with the exception of that.
No, it wasn't nothing to do with the summer.
They had no meetings in the summer, so starting back in the fall, when the kids go back to school, they start their meetings back up.
All right, city clerk, will you get me a copy of the meetings?
So
and
if
the
you
members?
don't want the kids to have a youth
I didn't
program,
say- did I say
just
that?
Just say what you mean.
No.
Say
I
what you
am
want to
saying
say.
what I mean.
Go ahead and say it.
I do say what I
Well,
mean.
say
Some
what you
people
wanna
don't,
say.
Commissioner, but I do.
Say what you want to say.
I do.
So again,
No,
like I said,
what did I say?
Say what you want to say, Mayor.
It's for public
Your
record.
information is wrong.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, we'll find out.
I beg the difference.
We'll find
Your
out.
information is wrong.
Okay, let's agree to disagree, and let's go
I
back to
know.
the budget, please.
All right, I'm asking the city clerk to get me a copy of the meetings.
All right, you get a copy of the meeting.
All right, I am.
With that said,
And if I'm not misunderstanding, everybody in the audience can hear me, I did say I voted to give them the money, and I did vote for the program. So let's don't make no misunderstandings like somebody else did a
Well, it
couple
sounds
weeks
a little
ago.
different right about now, Mayor.
Huh?
It sounds different right now.
No, it don't.
Well, it does.
No, it don't. I just ask questions.
Okay, well, fine.
may,
You know, you asked a question.
All right.
May I-
No, you made an accusation.
may I finish?
No, I didn't make no
You
accusation.
said there's only 2 members and they don't meet. That's what you just said.
That's enough, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Let's-
I didn't
That's
make
enough, Mayor.
accusations.
I've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Respect
Yeah,
each
no, there's
other.
none.
And that is, I have spoken about that in a meeting, and this is not a general meeting, but we should have respect for each other. So the arguing, that camera right there makes us look bad.
Let's make something quick, real quick. I got just as much right to make a comment about something as anybody else does.
Yeah, but
It
when-
don't-
when
wait,
the
see,
information
see
is
that-
wrong,
see,
it's wrong.
See, it doesn't matter. I got the same comments you get to make about things and do things, sir, and I'm gonna make them if I feel like it. If I wouldn't have wanted to be in that program, I wouldn't have voted for it. All right,
may I?
All right.
finish?
yeah, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. The second part of my ask was, I know we had spoke before in the meetings about putting up a speed limit sign, and it was, my recommendation was you could use some of my discretionary monies for that. Is that also fall in the same category of, I mean, I don't.
I believe that we've already executed a purchase order to buy a speed limit sign. We work with Chief Sima Placentia. Is that not correct?
That was a different
That
one.
was a different one?
So we had talked about that, I think it was at the first workshop. That is something that would be appropriate to put into some line item this evening. We had talked about possibly using some extra money, and I think Commissioner Firstner said he had some extra funds too, but the issue was POs were all closed out by that time for the year. So you still have about $145,000, and I think everybody agreed to, from what I heard, is that we could use some of that money to go towards those speed signs that we were talking about on Clark and Ocoee, correct?
Yep.
Right, and I do remember that, and so that's the challenge.
Right, so
I'm
what would probably be appropriate tonight would be a motion to put 25 of that 145 into the Public Works budget for 2 speed signs for Clark on Ocoee Road, which is what I think would be appropriate. And I think everybody was agreed with that.
But
We
how
just didn't know if we could still go ahead and purchase them before the end of the year using some funds that we had, but we couldn't.
Is that, I mean, I know the POs are probably closed out for this fiscal year. Is that possible to do what the city manager just recommended?
No, I'm saying for next year's budget. You still have $145,000 in next year's budget that's unclaimed.
Okay,
So if you want to take 25 of that now and make the motion to add that into the capital budget, 2 of those, I think we were talking 2, correct? And I know we heard like $10,000 to $12,000 for the ones that possibly have, we talked about solar and those types of things, not the kind you can move around, more permanent mount. So I think that's probably a good price for them that would cover that.
because I haven't been briefed on the pricing, so I don't know about the.
Yeah, I
pricing
think
piece, but
25 will do it, and if it's more than that, if it's less than that, I mean, we'd probably be able to switch some money from other places. We may have to ask if we can have a
Okay,
little
so
money from.
if that motion is not made this evening, that the monies that we have in excess, we could still use it later for that same purpose.
Well, it depends on what you all do with that money in excess. At the end of the night, we're going to tell you, you still have X amount of dollars that is not spoken for. Do you want to put that in contingency? Do you want to release that back to the fund balance? Because it's got to go somewhere. You could put it into contingency,
So
and you
should we
could
have that
decide-
discussion now?
You could have that discussion
Yeah,
now.
we can discuss what is it we want to do.
Well, what he's saying, I think, if I remember correct, my asking.
I think what would be cleanest is if you made the motion to add that to the budget for $25,000 from the $145,000 extra in contingency that we had, and see what happens.
Okay, well, are we looking for a motion now? I'll make that motion to take $25,000 of the excess that we currently have and roll it into the budget for
Public Works.
Public Works
the 2
budget
speed signs.
for 2 speed limit signs.
And I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Brunson to put 25,000 back into the general budget. Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion? No, let's vote. We also brought up at the budget thing about doing the Geneva Street
Speed humps.
speed things because of the cemetery in the park. So do we need to put some money in that?
I have to
don't
see
know
if-
where.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was in there
Steve's
yet.
not here, but Roy's.
We were looking the same thing, Mayor. We were trying to see if we could do it out of this year's budget, and I had forgotten that we cut it off like the second, third week of August, so.
So
We
can
did, however, Rob, we did add some funding, $6,000 each for 2 speed bumps on
Okay, on Geneva?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in there.
In next year's.
All right.
Next year's
Okay.
budget.
Is
All right, so-
that's 2 of those enough, those speed signs?
I know Worst Road was one area, Clarkona, Ocoee was the other, but obviously that's a county road.
How long's that street, Mayor? You're figuring every 600 feet. You
Well-
put one every 600
What are
feet.
you talking about, for the speed sign?
For Geneva, yeah.
The Genevas, they probably need 3.
So every
It's a long
600
way.
feet.
And going down to the park.
Yeah, going all the way to Park and Cemetery.
And
3 seems
also
like a
those-
better number, I
Yeah.
think, too.
Also,
so.
those speed signs that I have, that we have, like the one in front of the middle school, the ones that flash when you go over speed limit, those would be great, like moving it to Geneva. Again, I want to move it to some other streets, and that's what I bought with my discretionary funds, because they're about $3,000, $4,000 each, and you
Yeah.
can move them around the city and into neighborhoods. So that's where, again, that can go on Geneva too. Those kind of signs are what I like, because they kind of just wake you up. And you can move them where they don't realize they're going to be in another street later.
So we need to add one more.
Yeah, Mayor, so out of that balance that Commissioner Brinson just used, we probably want to add $6,000 for a third
Right,
speed hump.
the other one is the problem at Clark and where it goes across the road down on that dip where the people wanted us to put a sign there, flashing schools on or flashing cars coming out of the intersection or something there, because it comes over at Clear Corner Road and goes down into that dip.
Oh, down at your.
Yeah. So we need to put one there.
Goes down.
Caution, it flashes, the light flashes.
Okay.
I don't know how,
Solar type signs?
those don't cost as much as those other ones, do they?
ones that I have are about, I'd say 4,000, would you say?
So if you need 6, why don't we take $10,000 for those two things and
Yeah.
put those, if, you have to make a motion. And,
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to buy those,
That's to move $10,000.
$10,000.
Contingency to public
Do I hear a
works.
second?
Do they go through Public Works or do they go through the police, Public Works?
yeah, this is in the public works budget for capital
Okay.
equipment,
Do I hear a second?
I'll second
or
it.
operational, depending on.
Seconded by Commissioner Fershner. Any more discussions? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimous. All right. Any more to, let's see, and then, let's see here, I'm back down. Like this time, we will consider and vote on any amendments to the tentative budget.
Well, if
Go
I
ahead,
may,
go ahead.
I don't think we came to, at least I don't recall, is regarding the rollover for, are we saying no to that? Because we need to make sure that's for the record.
Do we have to have a motion for that?
Yeah, go ahead and make a motion.
I thought I did. You did? No? I make a motion, I make a motion that the Ocoee Youth Council budget remaining is rolled over to the next fiscal year.
Second? Anybody?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliver. Any more comments?
I'm gonna comment.
Okay.
If we do that, then we have to make a motion to put everyone's money to go back. And that is not, I think, again, just as I said, we're opening up a can of worms that is going to bite us later, because if you didn't roll over the parks and you didn't roll over the police, I don't know if they have any money left. If you fire, all of our advisory boards, you now have opened up something that I don't think we should do. I think we're starting on October 1st fresh. They each get their money and start from there. If we didn't spend it, too bad for us. We lost it. We've all lost, possibly, maybe not everybody, but we've lost money. Then why not roll over the money left over in my discretionary fund? That'd be the same reason. So, I mean, I'm not being,
I got to ask.
no, and please, I'm not being critical. I'm just saying is that I just think we're going in a territory we should not go to. So I will vote no, only because of that, because it's not that I don't like the
Well,
idea.
that is your discretionary fund, right?
It is.
You didn't want to just write them a check and give it to them before all this, or just?
Well, I don't know if that's,
Mr. Mayor, if we move it now, it goes into their fund and then they lose it anyway. We went through that today, trying to figure out if.
and that was a challenge, because it's not a matter of us just giving them a check, because it's deposited in their
Correct.
budget.
And everyone didn't use their money,
I
so
like-
they'll lose it anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how many everybody's got left, I don't know, so.
But when you do it once, the next year
Yeah.
it's the same thing, and it keeps going, it just mushrooms. And I'm not trying to look at things this way, but yet with blinders on, but I am, because I think it's a nightmare for fiscal, and it's setting a precedence. So I'll be quiet at this point, sorry.
Yeah,
I think this is the first time we've actually done this. This is the first time we've had a discretionary fund since I've been here. And I think that a lot of us did not use all of our funds. With that being said, I think that what we have to understand now is, as we move forward, those funds will not be rolled over. If they're not going to be rolled over, then we have to make the effort to spend them accordingly. So this being our first time doing this, I don't see any reason why we couldn't roll it over to the this one. Matter of fact, it's not even an advisory board now. It's actually a youth club that's sponsored by the city. It's not an advisory board. So I don't see the harm, and I don't see a slippery slope here. I just kind of beg to differ, Commissioner. In this particular instance, I just don't see this coming back to harm us in any way, shape, or form. I think that it's a reasonable request, and I think the money would go to some good. It would go to the youth council so they can actually do some great things. So that's just my opinion.
And in 2 minutes, I'm gonna ask for the Park and Recreation Advisory Board's money to be rolled over, because they are their advisory board I'm assigned to. So that, when you do one, I'm gonna ask for the same thing in the next one, within minutes.
are you talking about discretionary fund, or?
No, I'm gonna ask, if you're going to roll over funds, and that's what you're doing, you're rolling over funds into another boards and giving them the discretion of having $13,000 next year, well, then why wouldn't my board want to roll over their money? And I mean, it sounds so trivial, but I just feel as though you're opening up something you shouldn't open. And the next motion, if this goes through, I'll make a motion for the $400 that's left over in the advisory board. Give it to them next year, please, and I'll do it for all the boards if they have any money left over. So I mean,
What
We don't-
kind of impact is this going to have in finance if all the boards are allowed to roll their money over?
It creates an accounting challenge for us to keep up with what rolled forward, what didn't, how to suspense it, how to put it back into the budget. It is a bit of an accounting conundrum.
Let me ask you a question. Do you roll over the department's money?
We do not. If the departments don't spend their budgets for the year, it rolls back into fund balance with the exception of capital because you have restricted that capital fund for that particular purpose. So capital rolls forward.
Are there any funds that are rolled over?
Only capital.
Only capital funds are rolled over?
Capital projects that
Capital
are,
projects.
that span over one fiscal year or,
Which makes sense.
is it legal to do that too? Yes, the accountant, is it legal to do that?
All right, we got a motion. We have a
You-
second.
The motion
Any
is
more
to
discussion?
move your discretionary funds to roll that into the youth council budget for next year.
Yes.
Let me ask another question. Can he not ask for a check to give to them now?
He could, Mr. Mayor, but the council loses their money on September 30th. So if he gave them $3,000 today.
Maybe you can hold it till next week.
Can
we predate it?
I'm not signing
That's
off
not
on
my
that.
motion. That is not my motion.
Hey, predate it.
And I'm definitely voting
Ain't you ever had to
for that.
predate a check?
Now y'all trying to get me in trouble.
I was voting no anyways, but that would be a second no vote.
There's two things here. One of them's the discretionary fund, one of them's the fund of the account of the East Department. So he's talking about his discretionary fund, and you're talking about, I know, but I'm just saying, there's two separate issues.
He's talking about his discretionary
Yeah.
fund to give a board
Yeah.
$3,000 to roll over to next year when every other board has money that they can't roll over.
I know,
now
but
you're letting one program have that money to roll over, but you're not allowing the other boards to roll their money over. So that's why I'm saying you're opening up a can of worms. Start out fresh, and October 1, you want to give $3,000 out of your $10,000 to that group, do it. But I think that right now, because
You convinced me.
as soon as you did that discretionary fund over, they get to carry their money over, but nobody else does. That's not telling our citizens that we're playing fair. Okay, goodbye.
All right.
Well, I think in this scenario, I think it's a little more complex than that, because it is a matter of discretionary money trying to be given to a program and then that being rolled over. So it's not their quote-unquote budget that they were budgeted, or their amount they were budgeted for. It's an additional money. So that's why I'm asking the question now, because, that is something that needs to be discussed on the, whys and wherefores.
It is not something that's typically done, so the suggestion was if that was something you want to consider, it has to be approved by commission. It's not something accounting can do on our own, so.
Right, and again, in our discussion, I wanted to make sure that I was clear.
I just
on
want to
what
make sure
could, not
that in our
could.
purchasing, that we don't forbid interdepartmental transfers the week before the budget ends. It seems like there
We don't.
might be something, okay.
We don't. We do those
I
all
don't
the way
think
up.
we ever anticipated that, so I don't think we have a rule against it, but,
Right. No, and again, I do have some monies left over, especially since we didn't buy the signs that I thought may be coming out, and I just wanted to spend it prior to the end of the year, and those two things were my thoughts, were the youth council and the speed limit signs. So,
Well, again, I think it's good intentions, and again, whatever this commission decides, I will follow and agree with whatever this commission decides. But again, understanding what we're trying to accomplish with the youth council, I can't help but to fight for that, because I know what the goals are, and I know what the mission is and what they're trying to do, and sometimes it takes a little funds to do it. So if the funds was available, I'm definitely, you can't blame me for trying to, or at least supporting the efforts to get the money over there. So again, if we don't typically do it that way, I understand, and I understand the basic principles of accounting for its fiscal years and money rolling over. It doesn't always happen. I've seen it happen in some organizations, but in this organization it doesn't. So if that is the case, then I get it. But I will still vote yes to roll the funds over.
Yeah. And again, just so everyone's clear, that was my intention. And then the rollover aspect of rolling budgetary funding over between fiscal years came up. So, you know, it popped out of the blue to me too. I was just as surprised, and I should have saw it.
Just a suggestion,
Use it or lose it,
Commissioner,
we used to say.
just to keep from starting something new, like starting to roll over things that we've never done before, you still have $100 and some thousand. If there's something in particular you wanted to fund, you could make a motion to take that $2,000 or $3,000 and put it into their budget extra next year, versus trying to do it this way, because I think it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I think it might make the finance
We'll make
director
a
feel
motion.
uncomfortable also.
Well, we got that other motion on the floor, though.
Right.
Yes,
Well, I don't think, right now, I would not make a motion for the additional $100 and whatever thousand we have left over. This was specifically regarding my leftover discretionary.
That's going to come out of the same bank of money, one way or the other, whether it's in your discretionary funds for 21 or it
Right.
comes out of this extra money you have for 22. It's the same money, basically.
Okay.
well, so if this motion doesn't carry, you can take and put in a motion for $3,000 to come out of that 145 and put that in there. Huh?
Okay, so I'm gonna,
That's a lot cleaner.
It's cleaner, but I would say until that money is actually needed, I would leave that money alone.
Right.
Because it may be used for something else.
And that was
Again,
my
if
thought
it's
process.
not needed right away, I would say leave that
All right.
money. It's just a cleaner process.
All right.
Okay.
You got any comments?
No, I feel the same way that, coming out of the extra money to go into next year's would be a lot simpler than starting something new.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we should do that because no one else does it. We need to follow the rules too. It's always been a practice not to roll money over from any of the funds, including the discretionary funds. And I think we ought to keep it that way because, like Commissioner Wilson said, I do believe that's going to open up some doors that we really don't want.
All right, everybody spoke on it, so we need to vote. The motion's been made and seconded to do that. So this will be yes to do it, no not to. So let's vote.
Okay.
All right.
No, and this is really how it works. After discussion
Yeah.
and comments, persuasion is the name of the game. Persuade me to go one way, or anyone to go one way or the other. And what I don't want to do is cause additional man hours for the fiscal department when it comes to, July and August of the end of the fiscal year, and they're inundated with all these requests. So I get it, but again, it didn't come to my brain housing group until after I'd made the request to
This is done then.
Director Roberts, but thank you for your
I have
expertise.
to agree, and you're right, this is the process. This is the way things go, and this is the process we have to stand behind. We were elected officials to stand behind the processes and procedures that
we gonna read.
staff
We're not
before,
gonna do it.
and this is what we do. So, again,
That's what we're doing.
my vote was mostly, it was an emotional vote.
voted.
So, again, nothing they could have said would have persuaded me to vote any other way because of my connection with the youth council. So, I had an emotional vote, but I do understand the process, and I agree with the way things turned out based on the process.
All right, we've had the vote. So, any more?
No, I won't cause any more trouble.
All right, is anybody in the public, it says we can ask the public again. Anybody in the public have any comments?
Yeah, no, why not?
Maybe I shouldn't ask that.
Started it. Good evening, Brad Lomnick, Veronica Place. As a former member of and Rosemary, I apologize if I'm going to steal your thunder. As a former member of the police board, you know, I noticed that we had $1,000 budget. By the time, you know, the fourth quarter ran around, they were, because of buying shirts and things like that, they would run out of money for, they get close to run out of money anyway for officer awards and things like that. So I would ask that the boards, that we raise the allowances on the fire and the police board from $1,000 to $2,000. They have their quarter awards, and you know they have to buy. I think last year they bought a badge for a dog, and so there's a lot of things that they do for the police force, and that takes the money. So I would ask that we raise the limit on both of those boards. And Rosemary's probably going to want Parks and Rec too. It's a good board now. I like it.
Yeah, I'm glad you do.
Thank you.
All right.
Do we only give,
All right, any comments on that?
You know, I agree with Mr. Lumnick. One of the things that I would actually urge you to do as we're getting into our budget workshops, submit a request to the city manager for these type of increases. It makes it easier for them to actually add into the budget as opposed to asking for it during our final budget hearing. So I would just say, I'm sure we can probably find the money to move over to those advisory boards with the new budget. But as we move forward next year, maybe starting August, which is something I do, I usually send them a memo with a list of things that I would like to see on that budget. And they've been pretty.
The chairman of the police board did ask a commission meeting 6 months ago when he came up for the September 11th.
For the September 11th.
I believe he asked for more money at that point as well.
Gotcha.
what are we, well, I know the recreation gets 2,000, police chief gets 1,000. Why aren't they all getting 2,000? That's a good question. I mean, I know it's in your budget. I'm not criticizing your budgets, police and fire. But why don't we just across the board, all the advisory boards get
Yeah, because the
$2,000?
Human Diversity Board's going to need it too.
Well, they're also
Well,
increased because they put on certain
Yeah.
functions, but
Yeah.
the police, fire, recreation, does code enforcement get, they may not get 1,000 because they like buy shirts, but.
Just make it 2,000 for each board.
Across the board.
Across, yeah.
How much is that? I mean, how many is there?
I'll have to go
Okay.
and look at all of the boards. But we
It's
do
probably
have-
an extra $6,000 to $7,000. I'd say.
Yeah, it's at least 6. It might be, yeah, it's at least 6, but we have 110 left in the
Okay.
available funds
Let's really
right
make
this
a
moment.
motion to move up to $10,000, to bring every advisory board up to $2,000, and then if there's anything.
Yes, sounds like a
that'd
good
be my
motion.
Is that your motion?
Move-
Put in up to
Ten-
$10,000 to
ten-
cover the cost of moving it up to
Up to
2,000
$10,000.
per board?
No, bring it up to $10,000, that every board would want that. Bring.
No, I'm
Bring
saying
every board
two-
up to $2,000. I would allocate that we take $10,000, up to $10,000 to make that move, because she's gonna have to
Yeah.
evaluate which boards are getting 1,000.
To-
which
to
get-
You're
get-
saying every board.
Well, recreation already gets 2, police get 1, so why would we not
Yeah.
bring the police up to 2, like the advisory board for the
I know
rec?
HRDB is more than 2.
Well, they're a different board because we give them money as they're putting on functions.
So your motion would be with the
$10,000.
exception of the HRDB.
Yeah, $10,000 from
Yeah, that's what I wanted to
contingency.
clarify. So any board that doesn't have at least $2,000 will now have
Yeah.
at least $2,000.
Is that a motion you make, Commissioner?
Yeah,
You hear a
sounds
second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fershman. Any more comments? Let's vote.
Motion carried.
Everybody vote?
We gotta vote again.
You know, the other thing is, Mayor, is
All right,
that
motion carries unanimously.
when the money gets moved in contingency, and we find that during the year, I mean, we're
Yeah,
spending a lot of time
yeah.
doing it now, but when we get to contingency, there's time to move things around
Yeah.
at that point too,
Yeah.
which is, gives us a little room.
Yeah, okay.
We have another person that spoke. Mike.
All right. Huh?
Lawyer. Okay.
Is there any
How you doing?
Any comments, sir, on possible usage of?
Yes.
Jim Moore, Arden Park North. I just want to make sure, and I'm not saying there isn't, but to me, I've always been a huge advocate of signage. The primary business corridor is Colonial, as you know, and the primary residential, or at least new residential, is Clarkona, Ocoee, with City Hall being in the middle. I think it's of paramount importance that there's adequate signage pointing towards the new City Hall. And I just would like to bring up the topic because I'm a huge advocate of signage.
They're going over new signage designs now for all the area of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, to make a point about last night, what you brought up about the World War II thing, can you get a hold of the, I would say the VFW,
Yes,
Veterans of Foreign Wars, and see if they will put something on for us.
I'll talk to him, sir. I've already talked to the Navy and Marine
Yeah.
recruiting offices and the Army recruiting office I talked to
Yeah.
today.
Talk to the VFW.
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. I will now open this meeting for any members of the general public to speak or ask questions with respect to the amendments, which we just did. Huh? Seeing no further members of the public wishing to speak, I now close this public speaking portion of the meeting and call upon the city commission for any general comments, questions, or discussion with respect to the amendments. Kind of done that too. All right, public announcement by Finance Director.
Because I wanted to mention. Based on the motions made by the commission, we will move $45,000 to cover 3 speed signs and an additional speed hump on Geneva. We'll move that into Public Works Capital. That will still leave $100 that.
100,000.
I wish it was, yeah. It will leave $100,000 that has been unaccounted
Yeah.
for. It's sitting in reserve at the moment that the commission will
Okay.
need
right.
to decide upon this evening.
What about the 10,000?
That was
That
accounted for.
Excuse me, that 45 included the $10,000 for the
Yeah,
boards.
okay. All right. I now ask the Director of Finance to publicly announce the recomputed proposed final millage rate and the percentage by which the recomputed proposed final millage rate exceeds the rollback rate. This is the proposed percentage increase in property taxes. Announcement by the Director of Finance.
The final millage rate is 5.05 mils, which is 1.25% increase in property taxes.
All right. Now we're going to move down to the adoption of the final millage rate. We will now consider adoption of the final millage rate by ordinance. Prior to voting on the final millage rate, I will have the city attorney summarize and read the title of the final millage rate ordinance.
The name of the taxing authority is the City of Ocoee. The rollback millage rate is 4.9879 mils. The percentage by which the proposed millage rate exceeds the rollback rate is 1.25%. The millage rate proposed by the ordinance is 5.05 mils. The title to the ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, establishing a final millage rate of 5.05 mils for ad valorem taxes for the City of Ocoee for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022, providing for millage adjustment, providing for collection of taxes, providing for a 1.25% increase in millage rate over the rollback rate, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, I will now open this meeting for any members of the general public to speak or ask questions with respect to the proposed final millage rate. No question. All right. I now close this public speaking portion of the meeting and call upon the city commission for any further comments, questions, or discussion with respect to the proposed final millage rate. All right?
I would just like to thank everyone involved. I mean, at 5.05, I think that this is a great year. And I'd like to thank the city manager, assistant city manager, and all the departments for, again, maintaining a wonderful budget. I feel our residents, we're very proud to live in Ocoee, and we should be, and we have great services. Again, so thank you so much to everyone who was involved in this.
Thank you.
Did a great job.
Appreciate that.
Any more comments?
My comment is similar to Commissioner Wilson's. The last 19, 20 months for us has been somewhat of a challenge. And I think the city staff, along with Rob and his team, obviously the finance and fire and police, and the professional staff of the city has done a remarkable job. Working from home takes a special skill set, and some people didn't realize they had it until they were called to do it. And so I have to thank all the employees for assisting us as a municipality to maintain good discipline and professionalism, because the public had to deal with us still, and we had to deal with them. And so it was a challenge, and then when we look at the budget and all the things that we were able to accomplish here, I just wanted to say thank you.
Anybody else? I would say ditto to everything they've said. I think the staff, as always, as usual, does a great job and have done it again, and we appreciate everybody's efforts to make this through 2020 and 2021. Like the commissioner said, it's been a tough year, 2 years really, so we appreciate everybody's efforts. All right, at this time I will accept a motion on the final millage rate ordinance.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the final millage rate of 5.05 mills?
I'll second that.
Did he read it? Yeah. All right, motion made by Commissioner Brinson to move to adopt ordinance number 2021-050, setting the final millage rate at 5.05 mills for the fiscal year. Do I hear a second?
It was seconded by Commissioner Wilson.
Second.
Second, okay, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. All right, any more discussion on it? All right, let's vote.
Let's hope.
Carries unanimously. A motion has been made and seconded on the adoption of ordinance number 2021-050. We voted, all right? Adoption of the final budget. We will now consider adoption of the final budget by ordinance. Prior to voting on the final budget, I will have the city attorney read the title of the final budget ordinance.
This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Orange County, Florida, adopting a final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, I will now open this meeting for any members of the general public to speak or ask questions with respect to the final budget. All right, I now close this last public speaking portion of the meeting and call upon the City Commission for any further comments, questions, or discussion with respect to the final budget. All right, no comments. At this time, I will accept a motion on the final budget ordinance.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the ordinance number 2021-051, approving a final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. A motion has been made and seconded on the adoption of ordinance number 2021-051. Let's vote. Well, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Our budget process is over. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.